Since the beginning of our SP Immersive program and our SP Mastermind program that launched during the summer, people have been getting amazing results. And from those results over the last few months, I was able to notice a pattern that tends to happen to pretty much most people who are in the group or working immersively with us. If you watch my content or if you watch Tim's content, you would know that Tim and I really don't like making guarantees on when you're gonna get your SP back or when this is gonna happen or when that's gonna happen. But I do feel strong in saying that there is a high probability that you will experience one of these three things that I'm getting ready to lay out if you do decide to enter the SP Mastermind program or the immersive coaching one-on-one. Number one, you will decide and you will see that you are the real SP. As Tim always likes to tell all of our clients, you are the real SP. Is a realization that will smack you in the face, and you will have the gumption and the confidence enough to change from the person who you have been this entire time, all of these years, and you will start to walk and believe and do things that you never even thought you could do, because we have so many success stories of people doing things that they never thought they could do because they were afraid or embarrassed or whatever the case might have been. They step out of that shell, they step out of that box, and they become the new them. They become the new man, as Neville would say, and they're not the old man. They become the new woman. So that is one thing I would say, that there's a high probability of that happening to you. Número dos. Suavemente bésame. There is a high probability you will get in contact with your old SP or reach out to them if you have not been in contact with your old SP. No, that does not mean you will be in a relationship with your SP right away. However, it means that you will be in contact with them, or they will somehow reach back out to you, or somehow you will get some sort of movement with your SP. But again, like I said, relationship status is not guaranteed, it's not promised. See, something that I've realized in doing this SP stuff since 2019 or whatever the date was, I realized that most of you guys, you don't want to really get in a relationship right away with a specific person. Most of you guys just want contact. And what happens is we help you build up the gumption to either take action to respond to them if you haven't been in contact with them in a while, to take that action, because you guys that have been following us know that we are really big on taking action potentially, because sometimes the common sense thing to do, we don't do in this community for whatever reason, because we think it's not Neville, and that's simply not true. So like I'm saying, we will help you build up the gumption to take that action, to be able to come up with a plan to reach out to them when the time is right, to help you get your self-concept in order, to say, you know what, I am gonna send that text message, I am gonna write that letter, or whatever the case may be. Or if you're already in contact with them, we will help you navigate through the gray area of being in contact with them, to help you initially make that move, or to figure out how you can navigate into getting them to go out on a date, or whatever the case may be. Or if you haven't heard from them, help you navigate the gray area on what to do while you're in the process of waiting for them. What kind of technique should you be doing? Should you be dating? All of the above. So that's the second thing that there is a high probability of happening. Número tres. While you are in the process of getting your old SP or waiting to hear from them, or whatever the case may be, there is a high probability that you will meet a new SP. Or if this is your first SP, there's a probability that you're gonna meet this new SP while working with us during the group or immersively. We literally have multiple people in our group right now that they came to the group, or they worked with us immersively originally to try to get an old SP back, which they're still in the process of doing if they haven't already heard from them, because some have heard from their SP or whatever. While in that process of waiting to hear from them, if they haven't, or even if they have heard from them, they have met new people, and they are sparking relationships with new people that they have met on this journey of trying to manifest their old SP back. So when you hear people like Florence Scovel-Shinn says, whoever comes, it will be his equivalent or better, and stuff like that, this is exactly what's happening in our group. People come for an original SP, but then while they're on the journey of healing and elevating, etc., they're meeting new people on that journey and getting new SPs potentially. And this is very exciting for us to see, because people come in with one intention, and then their self-concept gets elevated up to here from wherever it was at on a scale of 1 to 10. It gets elevated all the way up to the 7, 8, 9s, and 10s areas. And what happens is they become a magnet, and they start attracting all types of stuff, and they start to realize, oh, I'm really the person, I'm really the SP. And that realization helps them attract somebody new, while eventually the old person most likely is gonna come back into the picture, because typically that's how it happens a lot of times. It's like once you move on and get the old SP out of your head, it seems like a new SP shows up. And then the fact that a new SP shows up then that in turn makes the old SP in a weird way kind of come back. I don't know why it works that way. It just seems to happen that way for a lot of people. So those are the 3 things you can expect to happen in working with us, whether it's immersively or in the group coaching. One of the big shifts and one of the big ways we help people realize and get these big movements in a very short period of time, considering LOA in about a month or 2 or whatever the case might be, we do this by letting people know that you are the one that gives identity to whatever it is that you're going through. Again, whatever you are going through, you get to label it as good or bad. The problem is most people, in my opinion, we're conditioned to automatically think certain things are known as good and certain things are known as bad. Let me give you some examples. I heard a story of a guy who was in court and he actually hugged the murderer of his son. That's a different type of identity. I also heard another story of a man whose son had passed away, and within a day or 2, or I forget the time frame, but it was in a relatively short time period, less than a week, I believe, he was out partying and having fun like the death of his son never happened. And somebody asked him before and said, "Your son just died. How is it that you're out here partying and doing all this stuff like it never happened?" And the guy said to the person that asked him this, he said, "I have 2 choices. I could sit here and let my son's death kill me, or I could go out and I could live and party and have fun like my son would want me to, like he was still here." And I thought that was super duper powerful. But these examples show that it is the person that gives identity to whatever the situation is that they're going to. We're always taught to be sad when somebody dies. We're taught that. We're taught to hate people that do evil to us. We're taught that. But we don't have to give it that identity if we don't want to. I don't remember what song it was in, but I heard one of my favorite rappers, I think it was Jadakiss, he said in the song, "Why don't we laugh at death and cry at birth?" I thought that was a perfect analogy, because why do we do it that way? Because we think historically we're taught that we gotta cry at death. Death is supposed to be sad, death is bad. We're taught that. So that's the identity most of us give death when it happens to people. What if people literally laughed at funerals? Like, what if that was the norm for everybody and it wasn't this sad event? It was just this cheerful, joyous event. And what if people did cry at birth? I mean, obviously, you know, the mom's gonna cry, the dad's gonna cry most likely, you know, might have some immediate family members gonna cry, but usually giving birth is supposed to be a time of happiness. Coming around and say, "Oh, this new person is born into the world." But what if we cried knowing that this person is now coming into the world, and this world is full of shit. This world is terrible. They're getting ready to go through all of this horrific shit. What if people cried because of that very reason? They're not happy that this child is being born into a world. What if people cried because they know, yo, this child is getting ready to be born, and it's getting ready to go through all of this bullshit on earth, and I don't want that to happen? What if life was that way instead? What if it was the exact opposite? What if we laughed at death and cried at birth? That's something to think about. Food for thought. Again, it's what you give your identity to. You get to choose how you're going to identify a situation. You get to choose if you're going to be a victim or not. The situation that you're in right now, you get to choose your feelings about that situation. You get to label it as, oh, I'm a victim or I'm not a victim. Just like over here in the States, we just had the election, and oh my gosh, people are losing their shit, literally taking time to set up their camera and start crying on camera, start spitting at the camera. Cut off my dad, cut off this person. I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. I can't believe she lost. Who we got? Who we got? Kamala. Hey, Kamala. I'm sorry. Who we got, Kamala? I'm sorry, Kamala. Who we got? Who we got? Who we got? Who we got, Kamala? Who we got? I fucking hate everybody. I'm leaving the country. People are literally throwing tantrums, acting like 10-year-olds, all because of the identity that they're giving this situation, not realizing you have the power. Take your power back, especially people that study LOA. If you are a studier of either religion or if you are a studier of law of attraction, law of assumption, you should not give a flying fuck necessarily to a high degree about what is going on in this country right now or what's even going on in the world, because you would understand if you study LOA that you know how to navigate through all of this stuff that's going on in the world. One of your affirmations should be, I'm going to thrive no matter who is in office because I'm the operative power. One of your affirmations should be, nobody can control my body and my mind but me. I don't fear what's going on in the world. I don't fear legislation. Those should be your type of affirmations. You have to give what happened this election a new identity. Again, it goes back to what identity are you giving the situation that you've gone through or are you currently going through. Just like with your SP situation, what kind of identity are you giving your SP situation? Are you looking at your SP situation as it's this terrible thing? I can't believe this happened. She'll never come back. I hate myself. I hate her. I hate the third party. That's you giving a negative identity to yourself, to your SP, to the third party. You're giving a negative identity to the whole situation. So what do you really think is gonna happen? I think this is one of the big reasons why we see so much movement when we work with people in our mastermind or immersively, extensively, is because we get them to see the bigger picture. We get them to stop worrying about the molehills and turning them into mountains. These David and Goliath situations that people feel like they're in. How can I beat this giant? I'm only a human and you got me going up against this giant. We help them realize you feel that way because that's the identity you're giving it. But what if you realize that you're actually the giant? What if you realize your problems were actually David? What if you realize you were actually this big and your problems were actually this big? Again, it's the identity that you are assigning to whatever the problem is that you're going through. So when you make that major shift, that's you in real-time 3D shifting timelines, quantum jumping if you want to call it that. If you want to use these terms. It's all perspective and it's all happening up here. The 3D a lot of times is an illusion, is a lie. The reason it is because you're telling yourself a certain story up here based on what's going on in here, and everyone is you pushed out. And so in the 3D, you think, oh, these terrible things are happening in the world. But that's because that's how you view it. If you get this right up here, you can control this. You're not gonna really view what's going on out in the world as such a nefarious thing, how other people would view it, because they're not on your level. Again, especially if you're into these LOA principles, whatever's going on in this world, whatever you're going through, it should never bother you to the extent that it bothers other people. I'm sure it can bother you to some extent, but the more you practice and the more you develop your mental faculties, the more you develop your techniques, you'll find yourself when you go through tough SP problems, or when you go through money problems or business problems or whatever the case may be, you will find yourself in a much calmer state than you realize. And this is exactly what has happened to people that have been in our group or we work with immersively. People come into the group having a lot of bad trauma, having panic attacks or whatever the case may be. And then a month or two in, they're like, wait a second, I'm not having these panic attacks like I used to have around my SP. I'm not really feeling that feeling that I felt in my chest that I used to feel about my SP. I'm dealing with this a lot better than I thought I would. What's going on? What's going on is you are doing the work. You've had a routine. You're actually practicing and listening to what you're being told. You're not watching BS YouTube content anymore. You know what this stuff is really about. So now in the 3D, you feel, oh man, this is way better. I'm reacting in the 3D way differently than I would have 6 months ago, than a year ago, because now your perspective has changed. Why is your perspective changed? Because now you are giving everything that you have gone through in the past and are currently going through, you're giving it a new identity.